Hi everyone, welcome back. For now, let's go to Germany. Enough, enough, enough. Where last Sunday the German snap elections finally concluded with the Conservatives coming in first at 28%, led by the soon-to-be Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the Fascists doubling their support to finish in second at 20%, and the Socialists, Germany's oldest political party, led by the outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz, receiving their worst ever electoral results in history, coming in third at 16%. The other parties making it to the Bundestag this time are the Greens at 11 and Die Linke, the left party, at 8%. The results were pretty much aligned with the polls, and as a result were unsurprising, and yet they were still shocking, with the fascists now the official opposition party in Germany, and Merz essentially being forced into another grand coalition with the now heavily depleted Social Democrats, which of course won't even be a grand coalition since the socialists are now the third party in parliament. Few interesting notes on the election. The pro-business douchebags who brought down Scholz's coalition didn't even make it in parliament this time, and the left party doubled its support. Now cometh the hour, cometh the man. And in a victory speech of a brutal election campaign dominated by anti-immigration sentiment, he offered stark words, warning that it's 5 minutes to midnight for Europe, and that in Germany specifically, effective leadership was urgently needed to solve the problems behind the AfD's rise, in a last warning to the political parties of the Democratic Center in Germany to come to common solutions. He added that his own Conservative Party colleagues had warned him that the former East was only a few years ahead of the West, and that if you do not solve the problems, then you will have the same problem. They were ahead back then on communism, and they are ahead once more now on fascism. Destined to be ahead of the curve is Germany, people. On Europe, he stated, for me, the absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that step by step we can really achieve independence from the USA.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Finally, after 5 billion years, the Germans are starting to get it. For that to happen, though, that is for Germany to be able to spend on defense, Germany to be able to spend on anything really, Merz needs a two-thirds majority in the Bundestag to lift the debt brake his stupid party voted in place about a decade ago. The debt brake being a constitutionally enshrined rule that limits Germany's budget deficit, its ability to borrow, to spend, to 0.35% of GDP. Now, this is a rule that no other country follows, ergo, it's a stupid rule. Um, and with Trump just about to pile on a couple of trillions to the US debt pile again, I feel these obsessions the Germans have with the debt to be a little bit antiquated at best, downright masochistic at worst. Will Merz be able to lift the debt brake through the Bundestag? Well, the fascists won't be voting for that, but everybody else potentially will. So there is a possibility, although the numbers will be tight since the fascists hold about a fifth of the parliament. It seems the geopolitical situation, however, that is Germany essentially being forced to protect itself, will finally provide enough cover for the conservatives to finally fight to repeal the stupid rule that they implemented. Baby steps, people, baby steps. The Europeans also want Eurobonds for defense, i.e., issuing bonds, debt together for defense purposes. That is, of course, an idea that should have been long ago implemented, and not just for defense. I would just urge a little bit of patience, people, since they haven't even agreed to borrow for themselves. And I struggle to see them agreeing so quickly to borrowing for others. Yet, let's not be downbeat about this. First signals from Merz are very, very promising. Let's not jinx it. Oh, and Elon congratulated Alice Weidel, the co-leader of the Fascist Party, for her terrific performance, because of course he would. Meanwhile, on the Ukrainian front, Macron has just finished his visit to Monsieur Magnaget, where he delivered an absolute masterclass on how to appease an angry, intemperate Magnaget, at least for a day or two.
So this is why being strong and having deterrence capacities is the only way to be sure it will be respected. And I insisted on that, and this is why I believe that the US has the capacity to do so. And this is why I think we should never say, I will never send any boots on the ground, because you give a blank check to violate any type of commitment. So I think it's good to have discussion. I think it's useful to have negotiation. I think it's super important to go to the peace. But my strong point was to say, let's try to get something first which can be assessed, checked and verified. And let's be sure that we build sufficient guarantees on the short run. And this is where we are ready to be engaged. As for France, a lot of my European colleagues are ready to be engaged. But we do need this American backup, because this is part of the credibility of the security guarantees. And this is our collective deterrence capacity. And I have the feeling that the President has this capacity.
I think it's very much to the benefit of Russia to make a deal. And I feel that we'll do that. It is what it is. Again, it's a war that should have never been started. It's a war that would not have been started if I were president.
Wow, he didn't say no to the American backstop. To be fair, he didn't say yes either. But let's be honest, that's as good as it's gonna get for the Europeans. Macron just bought us a fortnight before he starts calling Zelensky a dictator again. Some other highlights from the meeting?
I think they've done an incredible job with the Cathedral of Notre Dame. I think the president has done. I know he headed it up, and I know how hard he worked, and it took a period of time, but really not a long period of time, considering what that was, so delicate, so beautiful. And I was there, and I saw the work, and I'm very good at construction. I know good construction. I know bad construction. They did a beautiful job, and this man has to be given a lot of credit for that. It's an incredible cathedral. Most people thought it couldn't be saved, and if it was, it would have to be built in a different form, and we didn't want to see a different form. We wanted to see the same form that you built. So I just want to congratulate you. That was an amazing job. I don't think you've gotten enough credit for it. Someday you will. Someday you will.
Thank you, Donald.
Support the idea to send European troops in Ukraine to back the ceasefire?
European troops may go into Ukraine as peacemakers. So when the agreement is done, they can watch that everything is followed properly. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And a lot of the European countries, I think, I don't want to speak for France, but I know that the presidents talked about doing that also. I think that'll be a very good day when we can go in as peacekeepers as opposed to what's going on right now with everybody being killed.
Will they have U.S. backing, those troops going into Ukraine? Will they have U.S. backing from U.S. troops?
Well, we're going to have a backing of some kind, and obviously the European countries are going to be involved. And I don't think you're going to need much backing. I think that's not going to be a problem. Once an agreement is signed, Russia's going to get back to its business, and Ukraine and Europe are going to get back to their business. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Convince
Macron
Vladimir
on the
Putin
front-
to accept the European troops as peacekeeper, would you think?
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've
that?
asked him that question.
You talked to him?
I've asked him that question.
Is
Said
France
yes?
going to lift the block on the
Because he's
300 billion?
not, look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for more war. He doesn't mind, but I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
Is France
Haha, he even got him into a war of lies with Putin, since the Russians keep emphatically denying that anybody has ever asked them about this. Emmanuel,
Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid. We paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear.
Yeah.
We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan, because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day, and Russia would have paid for that.
If you
This is my
believe
wish.
that, it's okay with me. Emmanuel, thank you very much. Great job, and it's been wonderful being with you. Say hello to your beautiful wife, and we will see you again soon. We'll be speaking often. We'll get this thing worked out. We're going to get it done. So important, and great job.
Thank you.
now we're all just praying that the next guy doesn't fuck it up.